The Sixers are depressing. Slick Rick is having his revenge. And the return of Canadian Bacone. Let's do this on a Sunday night. All right, now Sunday nights have become a meeting spot for D-aliens, far and wide. Those that have been with me for years, from Kansas City, from Boston, from Miami, from Fort Myers, from CBS Sports Radio to now Sirius XM, and everywhere in between. And I can officially say that we've turned the page from the pseudo-professionalism of football season to now the straight ridiculousness and absurdity of the DA show of many years going forward and going backward. I just want to hit you with a hit list right now of what's going to go on tonight. Number one, we have Canadian bacon coming up, and the secret is out. The cat's out of the bag. In this case, the dictator's out of the bag. Mraz is going to join us for Canadian bacon of the Four Nations final between the U.S. and Canada coming up in 15 minutes. Amazing. Also, we are making tacos, which is Aiden, the Marquette Marvel, giving you what you need to know from the week that was in college basketball with a Super Dave twist as we are making tacos going to March Madness. Also, if you just want some good old-fashioned, old-school DA show, at the end of every one of these episodes on Sundays, we give you your Little Mo laugh of the day, which is a reminder of one of our wonderful listeners and spiritual icons here on the show. And we're going to lead things off by giving you the ins and outs of a Sunday night in late February with Hurricane Jen. Jen in Albany has been a longtime listener and caller to my show, and she's known as Hurricane Jen because she blows in like a hurricane, blows out, and you're left going, what just happened? I want to give you the quick early roller coaster of Jen here in the chat. Okay, so she ordered a pizza tonight, but she undertipped the pizza guy. Okay, she did not want him thinking that she was rich or something. I'm not sure that should be how you guide your tipping. I don't want them to think I'm rich. I think you should just do it based on how good the service is. However, Hurricane Jen says Pizza Man wasn't good enough. Okay. So we are off and running here on the night. Now, Daly wants me to chip in for the pizza guy. And I'm not sure that's my role here. It's if one of our listeners doesn't tip properly, I have to step in to save the day. I don't know if he was a good pizza guy or not. But I am here to see or to show you. And if you've got kids watching tonight, I just be forewarned, you might want to just hold their eyes. I won't read this out loud, but Hurricane Jen began to give us some of the ins and outs here. Bleep the pizza man. Really? And then Jen hit us with this. I don't even remember the last time that happened. I should be a nun by now. Again, this is a hell of a way to start off a Sunday night episode of Watch DA Live. All right? And Hurricane Jen, just for good measure, if you were wondering how the night was going, now you've got some of the details on the pizza and her love life. But you also have Jen letting us know that, unfortunately, her mom passed away. This is all the messages that we've got from Jen within, I would say about a 6-minute period. So our hearts are out to you, Jen. It's been already an emotional roller coaster here to begin the night. And I can say that I know on behalf of all of the Watch the Aliens out there, we're with Jen tonight. Hopefully that she finds some peace, because obviously we all know how hard it is to lose a loved one, including a parent. But there you go. Jen has started us off in a big way here on the show. So with that being said, I just want to let you know that we do have more giveaways. I've got a Herb Brooks Miracle on Ice bobblehead to give away tonight, okay? To the best comment, So last week we did Where Were You When the Miracle on Ice happened 45 years ago. Tonight we'll also dig through the comments. I'm going to connect with Aiden, and we're going to decide what we want to reward. But if you've got a fun story, a fun comment, an observation perhaps, you can let us know in the comment section, and we will be giving away a Herb Brooks. There you go. Miracle on Ice bobblehead. Okay. A lot's happening here. Let's start things off with your Furious Five. Let's just start with the NBA. The Philadelphia 76ers are just depressing. There's no other way to put this. They are just sad. And I have to say, I have a tendency to believe that most of this is because Joel Embiid oftentimes feels sad. Not sure if that's kind of his default emotion, but he certainly feels sad. We have a situation today where the 76ers end up trailing by 17 points in their game, and Nick Nurse decides we are just going to flat out bench Joel Embiid for the rest of this game against the Brooklyn Nets. And lo and behold, the Sixers come roaring back. They come all the way back to tied in the last seconds. And in the last seconds, Embiid is not on the floor. Now, is he injured? Is this because they were playing well without him? Nurse doesn't want to go and throw his superstar under the bus, but he keeps him out, and the Nets win on a tip-in. And so everyone's wondering, well, if you had Embiid in there, do you end up winning this game? And Tyrese Maxey is like, hey, he's been really good since I got here. Thanks. You have Paul George. We know he's not 100%. Okay. But does this not feel like just this kind of slog to the end of the season and this kind of blinking light on everything that could go wrong has gone wrong, and that it's just too depressing to even pay attention to in Philadelphia? These big expectations every single year with Embiid and the Sixers seem to flame out always prematurely. But this one's really bad because the season begins with the team saying Embiid's going to be limited in his play. And the season begins with Joel Embiid lashing out at critics. And the season begins with Embiid on the defensive. And now here we are in the last week of February, and they're blowing games against one of the worst teams in the East, and they're doing so with Embiid not even playing. This is just like Embiid is like Eeyore. I mean, as you look through the NBA and wonder what are the saddest stories, I mean, this has to be one of them. Is it not? Because where do you go from here? You just keep building and building and building around Joel Embiid. I was just thinking today, when you get to this point of the season, one of two things happens. Either you've got hope or your season is done so early and it's the most depressing thing ever. And the Sixers are part of the latter. They can't even hope of a play-in game. They can't even hope of a playoff run. They can't even hope if we get everybody healthy together because the mentality is just so sad. Everything's so sad around them. And Joel Embiid has become the Eeyore of the NBA. Just one big womp womp. One big womp womp. All right. Let's get into some college basketball here. We're going to get to making tacos in just a little bit. But I have taken my swings at Slick Rick Pitino for many years. I have taken great glee in dancing on his frailties, on his flaws, on his suspensions, on his probation, on his firings, because as we all know, Rick Pitino will never stop lying. And yet, this much is clear. Rick Pitino cares more than you do. And he's probably at the point in his career where he shouldn't care so much. He's a Hall of Fame head coach. with multiple national championships at multiple schools, and his resume is obvious. And yet, the fact that this year's St. John's team is a top 10 squad and just swept UConn, just swept the two-time defending national champion Huskies, is more proof positive that Rick freaking Pitino cares more than you do. And he cares more than the other coaches do. And he cares more than the other Hall of Fame coaches do. Because all these old guys, they were all taking their victory laps at the end. Coach K, Roy Williams, Jim Boeheim. We saw Larranaga retire this year. All of these guys at the very end kicked their feet up and were resting on their Hall of Fame resumes. And Rick Pitino was grinding at Iona to then get the St. John's job, which is what? The 7th best job in the Big East? And has this team as a top 10 squad that just swept UConn. And by the way, how are they doing it? In a full building at Madison Square Garden this afternoon. He's doing it with a team that is elite at defense and offensive rebounding. What are those two skill sets? Effort-based. This is not a supremely talented St. John's squad. There's not a lot of elite natural scorers on it. But St. John's is going to outwork you, out-hustle you, out-care you. And guess who that is? It's Rick freaking Pitino. It's a Rick freaking Pitino. The guy should be retired someplace. The guy should have taken the last job of his career and gone to some small school in Florida and just basically pseudo-retire. But no, he's like, I've got something to prove. He's a psychopath. This guy is demented. This guy is completely psychotic. And yet, it is why St. John's is winning right now. St. John's, they hadn't swept UConn in 25 years. 25 years. They've had guys come through there. They've had a million different coaches try to find, once again, the fountain of Carnesecca. And nobody can do it except flipping Slick Rick. He is back for more revenge. And you know what? I don't even mind it because college basketball could use a good villain every so often. We've kind of streamlined and sanitized college basketball. Nobody knows the players. Nobody knows the coaches. Coaches come and go. All the legends are gone. And here is Rick Pitino grinding his final years away at the 7th best job of the Big East, and he's doing wonders with it, and you can't kill him. You can't kill this guy. I mean, he looks horrible. His face is pale and washed out. His eyes are all pink all the time. But you know what? Gosh darn it, the guy's winning yet again. It's unbelievable. It really, truly is unbelievable. Don't look now, but St. John's is a top 10 team in the country based on effort, based on care. My goodness, Rick Pitino, Slick Rick, is doing it again. This week was about hockey. Can you believe it? This week was about hockey. In February, the All-Star Weekend becomes the Four Nations Faceoff. And for 11 years on CBS Sports Radio, when I needed a hockey fix, I turned to my fine, fleshy friend, Mraz, and I said, give me the skinny on this. What's going on? What should I know? Who's good? Who's not? And the sad part is we've been apart now for a mere 18 months, and Mraz doesn't even care about hockey anymore. Look at that. I go to Sirius XM. He goes to WFAN. He doesn't even care about hockey. He said he didn't even watch the Four Nations. What? The whole nation was watching this. Mraz said, I'm poo-pooing it. It's unbelievable. Usually the poo-poo's in a different direction. In this case, he poo-pooed the hockey. And yet, we said we cannot go out like that. We had many of you request a Canadian bacon for the Four Nations final. And we said, how can we pass up this opportunity? How can we possibly pass it up? The entire country was watching hockey this week. We have to do Canadian bacon, especially since it was the U.S. versus Canada. Let's dust it off, everybody. It is time for your weekly Bacone.
Sing us a song. You're the overtime ending man.
Welcome inside Watch DA Live. It's a Mexican chorizo, apparently. It's Mraz dressed as a hot dog with a sombrero. Hello, Mraz. How are we?
How are you, Damon? How are you? We're good to go here. I'm just hoping my headphone didn't pop out there.
What's the costume here?
Well, the costume is I realized that the bacon costume, for some reason I thought I had brought home, actually still is in a crate at the old CBS Sports Radio studios. So I went with the closest thing. I went with a hot dog costume. And I said, if we're doing USA, Canada, well, what about the other North American country that got screwed? They could have been part of the Four Nations, and that's Mexico. So I went with the sombrero over the meat here. And by the way, what's more American than a hot dog, right?
So you wanted Mexico in the Four Nations Faceoff.
Well, look, I mean, everybody's bragging about the U.S. versus Canada. How could I crown a real champion in North America if Mexico didn't have a team represented?
Mm-hmm.
It's only fair.
Now, I can't even believe you're doing this. I mean, obviously, Aiden and I are appreciative that you are, but did you even watch this game? You said you didn't even watch a minute of the first, 3 quarters of this tournament.
Yeah, I did watch USA, Canada, the final, at least from the halfway through the first period on. It had some, obviously, anticipation from me throughout the week. I had soured on the game by game time because I didn't like some of the things that were being said coming out of the locker room. But, yeah, look, for me, I get the purpose of it. I think it's great. I love international play. I love Olympic play. I don't, you know me, DA. I'm not into made-up stuff. The NBA in-season tournament. You want to give me the Olympics? It's fun. They just made this up out of thin air with no Czech Republic, no Russia. It was basically a fake tournament to make sure the USA played Canada for 9 million people to watch. I was on to hockey's act, and that's fine. Grow the game all you want. But guess what? I was right there waiting for the Wild and Red Wings yesterday at noon. I was there watching Ovechkin today go up and down the ice. So don't tell me I'm not into hockey. I was there when it mattered this weekend.
So the Four Nations, even though 9 million people watched, did not matter.
I mean, define matter. Did you see the end of the game? And we're going to get to it at the end of Canadian Bacon. The game ends, and they do the handshake. We sing, "Oh, Canada." It's a lovely moment. And then Canada gets hit with this realism. What is this trophy we won? Connor McDavid doesn't even want to touch it. And then they go to hand out medals, and the goal of them to cook up medals. And you can see one by one, as Canadian players collect these medals, they look down and they hold them, and it was like, oh, you guys just picked these up at a closing party city. And you've put them around our neck. That was my point along. What do they win? What do they accomplish here? It's all about pride.
I want you to know that I asked both Pete the Body and Bogues to be our judges tonight for Canadian Bacon. Pete the Body said, quote, "Hello, I will be sleeping for my shift. Wish I could throw Mraz in a dumpster for an hour, though." So Pete's sleeping for tonight.
So the oink aficionado is sleeping for the night. By the way, that's all he does at work right now, by the way, is sleep, but that's okay. More sleep for him. Nobody sleeps more than Pete the Body, but okay.
And Bogue says, "I am boycotting Mraz over his Four Nations hate."
Me and Bogish have basically squared up in headies in the newsroom at the old CBS Sports Radio offices over the last 2 weeks. And Tom DeCelestino, former friend of the show as well. We've all been arguing about the importance of this and whether it matters. And of course, everybody's, this is great for the cup. I said, okay, look, if 9 million people is tuning into the Stanley Cup and these people stay, then you were right. The game grew. If not, this is all fluff for the garbage men in Mississippi who don't watch hockey. And that's fine. Grow the game. But guess what? I'm here. I'm here for the regular season. Who watched Ovechkin today? How many of those 9 million people watched him? Me and every Capital fan.
So you and Bogues have had some knockdown drag out to the newsroom?
Bogish, hockey could do no wrong. And I'm up to hockey's act. That's all I'm saying is, look, just because hockey's hockey and you want your crumbs and you want your attention, I was there doing bacon, pubbing this game all over this beautiful country for years on the DA show. Just remember that. And did they ask me to be a part of the Four Nations? They did not. I would have been all over the pre and post game coverage. Maybe they should have asked, and then they would have got more viewers.
Before we get into Canadian Bacon, I just wanted to run some Hurricane Jen stuff by you today, early in the show. She said, "I undertipped the pizza man because I didn't want him thinking I was rich or something. Is this appropriate to not tip a guy because you don't want him to think you're rich?"
No. In fact, that's the dumbest excuse I've ever heard. Second of all, I see these messages popping up on my screen now. Is that the look Hurricane Jen's going for in the thumbnail now? We're faking people out with more pictures still in 2025. Good for you, Hurricane Jen.
Hey, she wants
Still
to
likes those feet, huh?
She wants to put Rex Ryan specifically. Also, she says, bleep the pizza man, and then followed it up with this.
Wow. Wow. Well, I don't know what to say to that.
No, I just wanted to let you know.
Hurricane this is Jen a Wendy's, Hurricane Jen. This is a Wendy's.
Also, she let us know that her mom passed away as well in the same flood of messages. So it's been a kind of an up and down night already for Hurricane Jen and for the rest of our viewers.
Mom, death, pizza, don't want to be rich, Poo-Tang. That's the Hurricane Jen list. Boy, what a night up in Troy, New York. I got to tell you. As spring begins to turn.
It's a barnyard. The barnyard up there. Okay, it is time for Canadian bacon. Let's cue the music.
Oh, let's go.
All right.
Sing us a song. You're the overtime ending man.
I think
before we get
I do the music.
Yeah, is there music? I don't know. Okay.
I think there is.
Is there?
Yeah, there we go.
All right. I love it. All right, so before we get going, I do have to say Hurricane Jen, some might say, could use some moist pork. All right, here we go. Wait, where's my script? Hold on. Don't deduct points, but then again, Pete's not here. So Aiden's controlling my oinks. Is that how we're doing this tonight?
Yes.
All
Aiden
right.
has the oinks.
Get into character. Here we are for Canadian Bacon, discussing a game where Canadian Bacon would actually be debated versus American Bacon. And boy, was everyone excited. This game was no yoke, though, even if it had our brains scrambled as to how much it actually mattered. I wanted this game over easy, but many hockey fans had the sunny side up approach on Thursday. And good thing, frankly, the English didn't have a team because they wouldn't have scored muffin. All right, now time for all the nooks and crannies. The U.S. was 5 days removed from beating the Mounties at their own game and was looking for the sweep and redemption from the 2010 Olympic loss that haunts our nation worse than the decision to put DA with Mike Babchek every weekday morning. The action was fast-paced to start the game. No fights like Saturday, all business. And in honor of SNL 50, Nathan Kate McKinnon delivered a weekend update and gave the Canadians a 1-0 lead 4 minutes in. The U.S. seemed tight for the rest of the period until 3 minutes and 8 seconds were left when, here's the story of a man named Brady who was busy with scoring a goal of his own.
Center ice face-off. And back on to Taves. Now a wraparound by Matthews and they score! Brady Tkachuk knocked it home!
That's the way the Americans became the Brady Bunch. The Brady Bunch. That's the way we all became the Brady Bunch. The Brady Bunch. 1-1 was the score into the second period. In the second period, exit light. Enter night. The Sandman came as Jeff Sanderson scored to give the U.S. the lead. His goal was interesting as Jake has dual citizenship and could have actually played for Team Canada, like his father Jeff did in multiple Olympics. The U.S. lead, though, was short-lived as Canada would turn to Sam Tony Bennett to tie the game.
Mitch Marner, high slot down low. Bennett scores! Sam Bennett ties it for Canada!
Because of you, there's a goal in my heart. U.S. fans may have had their hearts left in San Francisco with the game now even heading into the third period. And the third period was all about defense and tenseness, a total butt cheek clencher of back and forth action and patriotic chanting. But Freebird would never play in that frame, and the game and the Four Nations Faceoff would, in fact, have to end in overtime. In the overtime, the U.S. started off fast, but Michael Jordan Binnington was bullish in net with incredible save after save. Austin Corey Matthews was a boy meeting world with how much he was getting stuffed. But somebody had to end it. And who else could it have been than old Connor McDavid had a stick, E-I-E-I-O, and on that stick he had a goal, E-I-E-I-O.
Centering pass, McDavid scores! Connor McDavid wins it for Canada!
Connor McDavid, the best player in the world, wins it for Canada, turning the Four Nations Faceoff into a tariff tank job by the United States. Maple syrup, Timbits, Labatt Blues, and hockey wins. That's what Canada does, and that's your Canadian bacon.
Okay, so we go through Canadian bacon. Egg-cited, no yolk, though. Over easy. Nothing muffin. Nathan Kate McKinnon. That's just the beginning of things. Aiden, let's get your grade here on the oinks, and then we'll go through this. What do we got? Oh, 3.5 oinks.
That's
Three,
it?
3.5.
Poured my heart and soul into the script today.
3.5.
My whole day revolved around this script.
I think that's appropriate. I think it's very appropriate. There's some wins there, but there's some really big losses. Okay.
All right.
So, okay. Some of the wins. I actually thought Exit Light, Enter Night, singing the Sandman was very good. That was your highlight to me, especially because you come in with a real baritone. Exit Light. I did really like that with the Sanderson goal. Huge loss, the Tony Bennett. That was terrible.
I'm tapping into some stuff.
That was really, really bad. I don't know. You couldn't carry that tune at all. The Nathan Kate McKinnon weekend update. Okay, I see where you're going there, but she never did weekend update.
All right, but it was an SNL 50 thing. You know, come on. I was tapping in.
But also, the game wasn't on the weekend.
All right, look, I thought Pete Bellotti was going to be giving me some oinks here. I was trying to lean into his SNL love. I was playing for the crowd that wasn't here.
Now, you're early, again, egg-sided, no yolk, though, over easy. It's a lot slammed in there. But were you trying to say muffin for nothing?
Yes. Thank goodness the English weren't in this tournament because they wouldn't have scored muffin instead of nothing. And then you missed the follow-up line to that. All right, now let's get into all the nooks and crannies. English muffin joke. Bang.
Okay. All right. I that did go over my head. The Brady Bunch, pretty good. I liked your Corey Matthews there. I will give you that. I like the boy meeting world was good, but tenseness, don't you mean tension?
Oh, yeah. You're right. That is a word.
Did we need the E-I-E-I-O? You went back to the well on that. You did that already.
Hold on. This was all original hits, but I had to play a classic. You know, nobody goes to see Springsteen. He doesn't play Glory Days. You're pissed. I gave you something there. E-I-E-I McDavid ends it. That's Glory Days.
That's Glory Days?
You tell me Timbo Slice wasn't fired up for that? Come on.
And then I have to say, laugh out loud at the tariff tank job. That was good.
A little subtlety at the end.
Good. That was very funny.
I'm trying to see, did you miss anything? I mean, the Canadian.
I think I got it all. I mean, fine. Tony
Bennett. Yeah. I mean, Michael Jordan Binnington was bullish in net. Come on. That is unbelievable writing.
It's unbelievable.
Yes.
It's really unbelievable.
Yes. That was great. My use of bullish, who knew I knew that word? It tied into the Chicago Bulls, Jordan Binnington. That was unbelievable.
I need to hear from the Watch the Aliens what you thought Mraz got out of 5 links. Note that you can use decimal points. We could do 0.25, 0.5, or 0.75. Aiden went with 3.5 here, 3.5 oinks. Daly gives it 4 oinks. Okay, we're not far off on that. Another 4 oinks right there from Eddie. Okay, so slightly higher, 4 oinks. There from a couple other 3.5 out of 100 from Ben Bozo. 3 oinks. Okay, Donna Jean says only 3 oinks. So we're right around that 3.5, 4 oink Let's bring Aiden onto the set here, the Marquette Marvel. Aiden, I would like to hear how you came up with the 3.5 winks.
Well, I think there's DA played all the hits there, and I don't disagree, Sean, about playing the E-I-E-I-O as a homage to the Sing Us a Song, You're the Overtime Ending Man. I actually thought we would get an overtime ending man because of the McDavid goal in said overtime. So I think fans were expecting that on stage, not gonna lie. And but I think the McDavid songs, the Brady Bunch, I think was probably the best musical performance, but the Tony Bennett left something to be desired. So it was an egg scramble, if you will, with the good and the bad.
Well, he just hit on a big one there. How can you not go overtime ending man when we had an overtime ending man?
I cannot believe I was so amped up in original content that when I got to the overtime, I forgot about overtime. That's all I could say. It wasn't a purposeful left out. Oh my God, I forgot about Sing Us a Song. I went to play the hits of old McDavid. I was so focused on that, I missed overtime ending man, which is my whole thing. Like that's what people say when a goal is scored. You're right. I didn't deserve a 5. How could I forget that? That's gonna haunt me.
You know what? That's why we love you, and that's why I love you. Because
the whole script should have been written around overtime ending man. Like that's
right.
And all right. I mean, at least I got a
player in the world, as you said, and it's a Canada USA rematch. You know, country for country, and Springsteen was not involved.
Oh, that ruined my week, and it didn't even start yet.
But that's why we love you, because you could have, as you've done many times over the years, spin zone it to come at me and say, I'm coming up with original stuff. But in the moment, you took the lump, which I can appreciate.
No, if there's one thing I've learned in my old age, Aiden, it's just, when you're in a corner, just admit defeat. I've always been that way.
Accountable.
Yeah, accountability.
So you were writing this earlier today when you were doing your BetQL show with Pat Boyle, right?
I need to stop you there. There was a cutoff on agreement. It's the BetMGM network now, DA. And yes, BetQL is no longer affiliated with Odyssey. We are now the BetMGM network. Yes. As the true hard hat blue collar guy, I'm already working weekends, and putting in the extra work. Yeah. So during the breaks, what does a normal person do? They usually focus on the show they're currently doing. Not me, though. I wrote the script for this during all the commercial breaks, for sure.
We need to get this Bob's Bar date locked in here. You texted me last week, and then we might have the date. Did you run it by anybody in the family yet?
Yes. So we're waiting on one sister's response. So far, we are at like the 3. We're almost a tush push away. From declaring it. I will say this. You aliens out there, I'm not going to name names, those that were able to make it, my parents couldn't have been more flattered. They are now receiving Christmas cards from certain DA show family members. More pastry was sent around the month of December and shipped to my parents' house. So, I mean, they're oozing to get after it. So I know my mom was truly touched. So yeah, we're just we're shaking out some young kid dates with some baptisms in my family. That's what we're doing right now.
Okay. We're planning on it for the summer. We just don't have the exact date yet, but we're honing in. Sounds like we're coming close to the date that we need. And we'll have it here shortly so people can make their plans.
Yeah, I would say this. Look, if we get to, I would say another week or two, the beginning of March, mid-March, we can plant a flag here. That should give people, I think, more than enough time. And right now, look, the airlines keep having these situations. Flight prices are going to drop, so don't worry about it.
Okay, that's what we're selling. Yeah. Danger on the airline.
Well, what are the odds? You're fine.
We appreciate you staying up for us tonight. I know that usually you'd be curled up in bed with some type of milkshake at this point in time. So
yeah, I mean, honestly, DA, I still got like another 4 hours of me being awake, so I'm okay now. These are
really wow.
Yeah, I still got White Lotus ahead of me tonight. I'm gonna watch probably Timberwolves for a little bit tonight, playing the Thunder, and away we go.
Wow.
I don't wake up. I wake up at like 7 a.m. now. I don't wake up at 3 or 4 a.m. It's a different world for me.
It's okay. Well,
so by the way, milkshake, you're right. It's going to bring all the boys to the yard. I've thought about a fribble. Maybe I will partake.
Okay. Well, I know everybody appreciates seeing you here on Watch DA Live. Thanks, buddy. And
hey, real quick, you want to get to some breaking football news, DA?
Yeah. What do we got?
Well, it's what I texted you earlier.
Hang on.
I can't believe he skipped over this, folks. This is pre-planned and everything.
Oh, sorry. We have to talk about Peter Schwartz's arena football team.
Here's the sound. Here is the sound from yesterday.
It's up to you, New York, New York.
Fire-breathing football is back in Uniondale. The Dragons of the Arena Football League roamed the old barn from 2001 through 2008. But this is a new team in a new league, and they are ready to put on a show for the fans.
17 years later, to have arena football back at the Coliseum and to have it be called the New York Dragons is everything to me, so I'm really excited.
We're all excited about this. The team's general manager, Peter Schwartz, says he wants a Long Island head coach and most, if not all, 18 players on the roster to be from Long Island. The season begins in June.
I mean, this is actually happening. Peter Schwartz, our very own, is the general manager of an Arena Football League team in some Fakakta Arena League that is not even the real Arena League. It's 4 teams, all of which are based in the Northeast. One is, I forget the 4 towns. It's ridiculous.
I do too. Morristown, New Jersey. It's like, you ever see the Will Ferrell basketball movie Semi-Pro where they kind of like over-exaggerate the ABA? That's what's going on here.
I think there's a Danbury, Connecticut in there.
Yeah, all the big spots. They're basically playing in shopping malls. I can give you a couple quick thoughts here. Number one, my wife is so unaware that this was happening that yesterday, and frankly, the DA show crew has been texting about this. Yesterday, I got a call. I thought something was wrong with one of our kids, and it was my wife as I was shopping going, Sean, what's going on? I go, what's going on, babe? She goes, so I have News 12 on. Can you tell me why Peter Schwartz is on TV and he's a general manager of a football team? And I had to break the news. I said, honey, it's not like Brian Cashman on the Yankees. He's not picking a player. He's there for promotions. And I think he gave himself the title. Other than that, I will tell you, as the only person here from Long Island, there is absolutely zero buzz and momentum that is built up for this. I haven't met one person in a supermarket or anything else over the course of this weekend that's like, can you believe the Dragons are back? And I was told, and this is not a joke, that the commissioner of my flag football league, which DA covered with former play-by-play back in the day, has been contacted to see if he can get some of their best players out for a tryout. So when Pete says the Dragons be looking for local players, they're quite frankly going to be picking guys that played with me. So that's where we're at. That's the kind of high-level football and high-stakes football.
Oh, my God.
The only question left to answer, and good for Pete, like, he loved the Dragons, and, like, I'm sure this is we can mock it. I'm sure it is a dream come true. The only question left is, will the league survive to crown a champion in year 1? And will his son long snap for one of the teams?
Right, exactly. We're at the point in time where if this lasts longer than the AAF, it'll kind of be an upset.
That would be my guess. And then there's also the next part of this, which is I'm very fearful he's going to ask me to go to a game. Like petrified. Petrified.
Are they playing at the Coliseum?
Yes, and that's the other part. So you might notice in that video, great job by Aiden ripping that off News 12. They did not have the announcement in the Nassau Coliseum, the former Islander arena filled with asbestos, which is where this team's going to play now. So you would think, all right, home building, this is a big announcement. Let's have it there. As it turns out, for the first time in 2 years, the arena was actually booked on the day they planned on announcing that. I think for a monster truck rally, if not a Brooklyn Nets G League game. So they went to a local town CYO to make the announcement and play House of Pain jump around. And he also made sure to contact my friend David, who takes care of some stuff for Arizona Iced Tea Company, to make sure there was plenty of free iced tea on tap, which I'm sure resulted in multiple cases taken back personally to the Schwartz house.
And did Schwartz actually ask the Red Bulls to hold food for him in the newsroom this week?
So, yes. Friday, the Red Bulls came by our studios to pub their opener, and they sent us some great swag. I got a beautiful hoodie, but I'm Team Red Bull now. They have bought and paid for me.
Okay.
But, yeah, they had a chef come in to show the new foods at the new Sports Illustrated Arena. And apparently Pete had texted the lead PR guy to say, hey, I am not working, but can you guys please leave me some food and put it in the fridge, and I will heat it up on Saturday for my lunch when I return to the studio. Because if you're wondering how much a general manager of an Arena League team pays, he's still doing weekend updates locally at the station. Just kind of give you an idea of the financial circumstances around the Arena League. But yes, he did ask the Red Bulls chef. As it turns out, there was an agreement by everybody involved. Whatever food was left would be taken out of the fridge and made sure we all ate it before Pete ever saw a piece of bone marrow. And that's exactly what we did. Pete was left with no food.
Shameless. Totally shameless. Yeah. Did you know that Zach Gelb was tuning in tonight for your Canadian Bacon and left us with this? This is like when a Hall of Famer walks onto the stage for his induction ceremony speech and forgets to mention the most important moment of his career, in that you left out overtime ending man.
All right, tell Zach to go back to Radio Row and kiss more ass and then leave me alone. Huh? How about that, huh?
He got into it with Warren Sapp on Radio Row.
I know. Look, it ain't a Radio Row unless Zach Gelb is contacting Florio to write every story about him, please. We saw.
Okay. Thanks for joining us.
All
Everybody enjoyed it. Thanks for dressing up tonight. We'll talk soon.
Take care, guys.
Okay. There you go. Canadian Bacon. Had to give him a 3.5. He left out overtime ending man, and we actually had an overtime ending man. Come on. Come on. Incredible. That was great to have that back on the airwaves, and that's what this show really is for. This is really a do-it-all, very versatile show here, which is why if you are an old school D-Alien and you've gone back with me many, many years, or even if you're a new school D-Alien and you listen to me on Sirius XM, tell your friends, those that have listened to the show in the past in any iteration, or those that listen to the show now, hey, on Sunday nights, watch DA live. They bring all the band back together. They play the hits. They have fun. They got sports takes. They have a good time. It's a good night. We always enjoy and welcome everybody that can come into the fold. Make sure they're subscribed to the channel. Just hit that button below me, subscribe. That way you'll get notified when we go live. Pass it along to your friends. Hit them in the DM. Hey, make sure you got this link. Make sure you subscribe. Here's the channel. On Sunday nights, we want to welcome in as many people as humanly possible. And if they're friends of yours or family, then we can trust them. They're part of the inner circle here. A few more sports takes before we give away some good stuff, okay? Let's go back with the Furious Five. And Vegas has updated the odds on Aaron Rodgers' landing spot. There's 3 teams all tied at the top now. The Raiders, the Rams, the Steelers. So which of these 3 teams makes the most sense? First of all, we all know my thoughts on Aaron Rodgers. This guy is the biggest fraud going. Rodgers loves to promote himself as a great leader, as a great intellect, as a man beyond just football. And yet any of the qualities that he thinks distinguishes himself and his career, he brought none of them to the Jets. Now, I know the Jets have their own host of problems, but I just love the fact that Rodgers shot his way out of town in Green Bay. I need more control. I need more of this. I need more respect. How dare you draft Jordan Love? Then we get to New York, where he got all the things he insisted he needed to win in Green Bay. Remember, he had friction with their GM, Gutekunst, had friction, Gunty, my man, had friction with his head coach and Matt LaFleur. And what happened? He leaves 2 years in New York. They never make the playoffs. He leaves 2 years in Green Bay. They make the postseason both years. And in New York, all of that leadership, all of that culture, all of those expectations completely imploded. So to me, Rodgers is just such a phony. He thinks he's something that he actually is not. But if I were to handicap these odds here, let's take the Raiders out of it. If these 3 teams all actually want him, that's the question here. But this is who Vegas has as the odds-on favorites to land Rodgers. For the Raiders, you got to say no to the Raiders because the Raiders have no culture. They're trying to change that with Pete Carroll. They're trying to change that with Tom Brady pulling some levers there. But Pete Carroll already dealt at the end in Seattle with a fading legend that wanted too much control. I would say for the Raiders, you cannot trust Rodgers to walk into Las Vegas and change anything. That's not who he is. So I'm going to say throw them out. that leaves us the Rams and the Steelers. For the Rams, I guess they might want a cheaper alternative to Matthew Stafford, but the Rams are stuck in the same position if you bring in Rodgers with Stafford. That is, you have a young core, a wonderful draft class this past April, young guys like Puka Nacua and Kyron Williams, and an old quarterback. I'm not sure why you would flip out a Matthew Stafford for an Aaron Rodgers. I think Stafford is better at this point in his career than Rodgers. And Stafford has won a championship there. Stafford goes to the postseason almost every year there. For Rodgers, you want to reboot and reset with a guy that's older who hasn't done it in that organization. Also, LA and Rodgers, I don't trust that. I could see him getting sideways there, all about celebrity, all about getting his foot in this Hollywood project or that. So no, I don't think that fits either. To me, even though they've got a strong organization, so that's what you need to surround Rodgers at this point to keep him painted inside the lines. The fit there is actually the Steelers. Now, I would not advise Pittsburgh to go after Aaron Rodgers, but I would just say out of these three teams, the Steelers makes the most sense to me because you have to have something larger than Aaron Rodgers to keep him hemmed in and humble. And the Pittsburgh Steelers are larger than Aaron Rodgers. The 6 Super Bowl trophies, the legends that always come through, the hyper diligence in being the Steelers and the brand and the legacy. You are reminded constantly that you're part of something that is much bigger than you. You can't be on your own island. They don't accept it. And Mike Tomlin, a hyper-focused, hyper, at times, aggressive type of head coach. Now, let's face it, Tomlin's fallen on some hard times recently in terms of his win-loss record, at least in the postseason. So maybe he doesn't have as much cachet as he did 10 years ago to make sure guys don't color outside the lines. But I think if you are hoping to get an Aaron Rodgers on his best behavior, it would be like how you got Russ largely in his best behavior this year. Russ couldn't do the Mr. Unlimited bit. Russ couldn't do the I have my own office, I have my own masseuse, because you're the Steelers. You're part of the Steelers. So I would say in the same way, Rodgers would have to fit in there, and that's where you might get a better version. Again, I wouldn't advise anybody to go after Aaron Rodgers after what we just saw in New York. Is he properly humbled? I mean, you'd hope so, but who knows? He likes to make a lot of excuses. It's never his fault. Clashes with head coaches, clashes with front office people. I mean, not exactly the guy that I would want to bring in at 40 years old, but if any of those teams make sense, it would be the Pittsburgh Steelers, although they just went through this with Russ. So if you're looking for just like Russ 2.0, that's Rodgers. I don't really think you're going to get much better than what you saw out of Russ at his best last year, and Russ faded down the stretch, which I think will happen as well to Aaron Rodgers this upcoming season. All right, and finally, Major League Baseball, okay? This week, MLB cut bait with ESPN as a television partner. And the question is, who do you think you are? Baseball, who do you think you are? Who are you to be telling ESPN, we don't want to accept a lesser rate on a shrinking platform? Now, I'm not going to sit here and argue that cable television is a shrinking commodity. I mean, part of the reason that we have success here on YouTube is because there's more young people that watch things on YouTube than on traditional television every single day. And this is an amazing stat. In 2024, the calendar year, as much money in advertising was spent on YouTube as was spent on the entire broadcast industry from a television standpoint. That's right. As much advertising money was spent here on YouTube as it was through all of network television, all of cable television, and all those fast channels and things like that. Is that not extraordinary? You're talking about billions of dollars spent on YouTube. So if you are Major League Baseball or any of the sports leagues, and you're going, cable is shrinking. That's true. That is true. But this is a league that accepts $10 million a year from Roku. Did you even know they've got games on Roku? Can you imagine being a league that is willing to take pennies from Roku, but saying $550 million a year from ESPN ain't worth it? We're bigger than that. I mean, you got some gall. You've sold your programming to Apple TV, Roku, Twitter in the past, Facebook, and now you're saying, no, but we don't need ESPN. All these regional networks are going under, meaning so many fans have to scramble to watch their Major League Baseball teams. And you're going to tell ESPN, the platform's shrinking. We don't need you. Okay. Now, does ESPN have the reach or the impact that it once did 20 years ago? No, of course not. But I'm just saying, your baseball, each team has 162 games. You've dined pretty well at the table of Sunday Night Baseball and Baseball Tonight and the playoffs on ESPN, etc. I know you got Fox. That's a big deal for you. But if I'm baseball, I'm certainly not looking down at ESPN saying, oh, we're better than that. Sounds like ESPN wanted a better deal. Okay, I would work with that. Again, I'm looking at the numbers. You took $10 million a year from Roku. I would do another deal with ESPN. I wouldn't be that stubborn, that pig-headed, that short-sighted. Who do you think you are? All right. It is time to give some good stuff away. And I'm going to bring in Aiden, our Marquette Marvel tonight, to help me. Okay. Give me 1 second to go grab this amazing bottle. Oh, yeah.
Live production here as DA makes his way to give away, yes, the Herb Brooks bobblehead. So, last call for anybody in the comment section if you have been waiting or wondering what the giveaway is tonight. Again, shout out to the National Bobblehead Hall of Fame and Museum located in my second home of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. They are just diehard listeners to the show. Wanted to give away a bobblehead last week, and then look at this baby from this week.
So we have hit 45 years since the Miracle on Ice. That was February of 1980. All right, so 45 years. Pretty cool considering we also have just had a huge hockey moment, international hockey moment, the U.S. versus Canada, even though Canada won. This is Herb Brooks sporting this amazing plaid jacket as well. You got to love that. This is the Bobblehead Hall of Fame. They contacted me a couple of weeks ago and they said, hey, we've got these new bobbleheads coming out to honor the Olympic team, the Miracle on Ice. Would you guys want to give some away to your listeners? We love the show. We love what you do. They've been following me for a long time. And now they've come over to the YouTube side of things. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. So they sent me this. They sent me the O'Callahan one that we gave away last week. I believe it was Drunkle Sam that won that last week. And in fact, it's going to be going out in the mail tomorrow. Got that all packaged up today. Papa Mendo helped me on that one. So that's good stuff. So we got a Herb Brooks one to give away today to an elite comment. This is a cool box. So, Aiden, what did we decide? What was the qualifications for how you're going to win this one tonight?
Well, in a similar fashion, if you're a red, white, and blue hockey fan, you will really appreciate said bobblehead. DA, let's give it to Ralph J. Limbrick Jr. He remembers watching every game of the U.S. hockey team back in the Olympics. Only game he missed, ironically enough, was the game against the USSR. But big hockey fan, big fan of the show. So Ralph J. Limbrick, congratulations.
All right, nice job. Yeah, Ralph has been with us, I think, since day one, doing this nearly a year now and watched DA live. Wow, he watched every game of the 1980 Olympics except the one against the Soviets, the one that everybody remembers, which was not the gold medal game, by the way. It was the semifinal before the gold medal game, but still, he watched everyone but the Soviets. That seems ridiculous.
That is like me watching every college basketball game this year, except the 2023 Final Four, San Diego State making their way to the Final Four, that buzzer beater to get them into the national championship. I was at a dinner and somehow missed the game, walking back to the apartment, stared into a yard house, thank God for Yard House. They have all these windows that you can just peer into all their million TVs. Caught the buzzer beater through the window and saw the whole bar go up like that. As you're making tacos aficionado, that's a relatable story, Ralph. Sometimes you just miss a big game.
Okay. Very nice. So that is a very good job by Ralph. He won the Herb Brooks bobblehead. Thanks very much to the Bobblehead Hall of Fame for hooking us up. I love that they watch the show. I love that they love to watch the aliens. I love that they've carried with me throughout the years on radio and now over to YouTube. So very nice. We have another one to give away next week. One last one. We got 3 of these bad boys from them. So we'll give away one more next week in honor of the Miracle on Ice celebrating 45 years. Very cool. By the way, programming note, thank you everybody for being with us 1 hour later this week. The reason is Bourbon Bell out of town on business. So I had AJ all weekend solo, which is great. I love spending time with them. I missed like 8 days at the Super Bowl, and then I got sick, so I missed another nearly week without him. So I needed my AJ fix, but also his bedtime is 7. So I was not going to be able to get on the air at 7. Put him down at about 7:15 or so. So then I had 45 minutes in between that and this. Got myself a frozen burrito out of the freezer. Locked that bad boy in. Spicy chicken, very good. And away we go. So that's why we did it an hour later. Thank you, everybody, for staying with me an hour later. But, I couldn't put AJ down at 6. He was not going to go to sleep. That is just not the bedtime. And anybody that knows, if you got a toddler, he's almost 2 now. If you got a toddler, you got to play by those rules. You got to play that defense, okay? You can't scheme it up. You have to make sure you are as disciplined as humanly possible. And I was. Bath at 6:30. Read a book at 6:45, 7 o'clock, got the bottle, 7:10, lights out. Okay, we're good to go. Dad of the year right here. Got to get to some making tacos here tonight. Every night until March Madness, we're getting you prepared. And I think we're going to have a March Madness bracket challenge as well with some gear or some drinks or something to give away. So make sure you're locked into this come March Madness, but we're trying to get you guys up to speed on filling out your brackets. And so our college basketball czar, the Marquette Marvel, Aiden Hatton, take it away. It's time for Making Tacos installment number 2.
If you're not making tacos, I don't love you no more.
Whew. It's that time again. The tacos and the chorizo is sizzling. No more bacon. We're done with the bacon. But I did want to defer to our fleshy friend, Mr. Moresh, to have him go first in Mr. Canadian Bacon this evening, and then have Making Tacos as your second course. And in tonight's tacos, I wanted to start with the hat controversy heard around the world last week. Yes, it was controversial to hear what my hat was from. Is it a straw hat? Am I a Nick Saban? Where is it coming from? Well, fear not. The budget has been upped, and we have a real sombrero.
Oh, nice.
For the second edition of Making Tacos. Yes. So it is time to officially start making said tacos. And I wanted to incorporate my best friend in the chat, Curtis. Why do I look like a generic John Wick this evening? Maybe this sombrero will make it look a little less John Wick-ish. And DA, you can do the math if this looks anything like me at the end of said Making Tacos.
Okay.
But let's start with, yes, there's John Wick right there.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I don't know what that says about me, but we will push on, just like I'm Malcolm in the Middle as well. Let's start with your today's calientes, which I said it last week. I was high on them. They were featured on the Taco Tuesday Game of the Week. The Houston Cougars, number 5 in the country. They had a 2-0 week, beating both Arizona State on Tuesday, which gave them their 12th straight road win, DA. That's the longest streak in the country, actually longest in Big 12 history. And yes, back-to-back years, they're closing in on a Big 12 regular season title, essentially usurping Kansas as the class of the conference. So I'm very high or bullish, as one might say. I couldn't okay. reference the Houston Cougars. and Kelvin Sampson, because Mr. Sampson is the fourth most winningest coach without a national championship, still coaching. Your friend Rick Pitino has one. John Calipari has one. Tom Izzo has one. You see there, Rick Barnes at Tennessee does not have one. Dane Altman at Oregon, Mark Few. And then Mr. Kelvin Sampson, who made a Final Four a couple of years ago at Houston. This might have been the team the DA picked to win last year.
Yeah,
so that's the only flaw in the ointment, or fly in the ointment. Yeah. But I love Houston's chances this year because of their defense. So that's number one on today's Calientes.
Okay, very good.
Number two.
I hope we have some Friedman clips in here too. Super Dave.
Oh, we do. We're getting to our get away from me buddies in a couple seconds. The second Caliente I want to get into quickly, and we read each other's minds, DA, because the St. John's Red Storm is muy caliente, especially when Mr. Pitino wears that white suit. Yes, full screen in all its glory. He has not brought this back for a game this season, I believe. This is year 2 for him at St. John's, but he appeared on the Pardon My Take podcast this week and teased a revelation of the white suit. He said, I paid a lot of money for it, so I want to wear it more than once. So stay tuned for that. Things can get even higher. Yes, for the Red Storm. It can get even more caliente this season.
Okay, white hot.
White hot, yes. And then who else is muy caliente? How about Alex Rodriguez? You say, Marquette Marvel, why is A-Rod appearing in Making Tacos this week? Well, A-Rod had a panel to speak to at Bucknell University today, which is the alma mater of his co-owner of the Minnesota Timberwolves, Mark Laurie. That purchase was just made final last week, and he is going through as the full-time owner of the Timberwolves. So he and his friend Mark appeared at Bucknell today, did a little speech, and attended the basketball game. Great. Well, my friends, A-Rod also had an opportunity to win $10,000 for this said Bucknell student if he made a half-court shot, and here's how it went.
Look at that. A-Rod actually coming up in the clutch, ironically, for somebody.
Ironically, winning $10,000 for the student who told him he was a Philadelphia Phillies fan. Well, then A-Rod came back with, you and your family have to become Yankees fans after that. So congrats to A-Rod. Congrats to that student from Bucknell for winning $10,000 on just a random Sunday. You know, A-Rod wants to just fly down to Virginia, have a nice Sunday afternoon matinee, Bucknell basketball. Where else would you rather be? So he is muy caliente this week.
I think Bucknell is in Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania, excuse me. My geography is it only extends to Canada because of
okay. Very good.
And without further ado, let's get to our get away from me buddies of the week.
He said, get away from me, buddy!
We planned it to have an Aaron Rodgers segment this week as well because he just can't get away from me, the show. So the get away from me buddies I want to get to this week, the Kansas Jayhawks. I cannot stand them, DA. They were the preseason #1 team in the country and just took the worst loss in the Bill Self era on Tuesday to the BYU Cougars.
Ooh, woof.
Also just beat Arizona yesterday, so they might be caliente as well. But BYU losing by, you want to do the quick math on that? 91-57. I should have done the math in advance, but that's the worst loss.
44 points.
44 points, exactly right.
Right.
So they're
34 points. I don't know.
There, as you see there, 7 Big 12 losses. That's the most Self has ever had in his career. Just what a 44-point drubbing.
34.
34. Correct. Yeah. Correct. Live producing here, live math on the air. Math isn't really our thing. We're making tacos. We're not making equations. So yes, Bill Self and the Kansas Jayhawks, they've been overrated since day one. If you're looking forward to having them be a 6 or 7 seed in your bracket coming up in a few weeks, I don't see them as a second weekend team. They have Hunter Dickinson, who I think earns the superlative of the most punchable face in college basketball. He's been in the sport for about as long as I have been, which about as long as I've been on earth, I should say, because he's played for Michigan, then he went over to Kansas. If you remember, he did this whole LeBron decision thing to announce his move in the transfer portal, so he can get away from me, buddy.
Yeah.
The second getaway for me, buddy, is Duke's schedule. Yes, Duke is the number 3 team in the country, DA, but they had pretty much their last test, if you want to call it, in air quotes, against the Illinois Fighting Illini with their right side up jerseys at Madison Square Garden yesterday, and beat Illinois by a wide margin. Shout out to Kevin Miller, by the way, who was in the house and watched his Illinois team absolutely crap the bed once again. And you might think Duke in the ACC, perennial basketball conference, and I'm going to ruffle some feathers with the Syracuse alumni host, but here's their final 4 games. Miami, their coach just retired in the middle of the year, Jim Larinaga. Florida State, Leonard Hamilton also stepping down at the end of the year. Wake Forest, Chris Paul's been gone for a long time, folks. And then North Carolina, which is a bubble team this year. I know it's Duke UNC. Duke beat them by about 100 points last time out. So they're going to Chapel Hill and will probably romp them by 40 again. This team has not been tested. And the one other ranked team in the ACC is Clemson, and that was Duke's last loss. So I'm calling BS on Duke's schedule. They're a certified number 1 seed in your bracket coming up. But I think even though John Shire has progressed and made a Sweet 16, made an Elite 8, he's gotten to the second weekend, I smell a little fraudulent smell with them because they have Cooper Flagg and they have a lot of freshmen, as always, that are leading their charge, and that just never wins in March. So Duke's schedule can certainly get away from me.
You will find no ACC defense from this Syracuse Orange alum. To me, yeah, the ACC is way down, and anytime you can take a run at Duke being frauds, I'm all for it. I can't stand Duke, so great. Let's trash them even more.
Trash them and get away from me, buddy. One more time for one good measure.
He said, get away from me, buddy!
Very good info for our brackets coming up here in just a few weeks. You got a tasty top 3 here?
Tasty top 3 real quick. Taco Tuesday, Mississippi State traveling to Tuscaloosa, Alabama. I am excited for this game. If you love offense and if you love defense, this is a clash of 2 powers. Alabama plays like an NBA team. Let's put it explicit, because Nate Oates is a former math teacher, loves the analytics. They shoot a lot of threes, and they just crash the glass, kick back out for another 3. And then Mississippi State, Chris Jans, known as a defensive-minded guy. Mississippi State had a great win on Tuesday against Texas A&M and Buzz Williams. So I'm looking forward to that for defense versus offense. And then as well, a little taco seasoning, Taco Saturday. Number 1 Auburn is traveling to Rupp to play number 17 Kentucky, which has had its highs and lows this year under first-year coach Mark Pope. But I'm watching Auburn as a potential upset alert here, because I'm thinking they would have at least one more loss, one more hiccup before they get to the tournament, and then it's going to be full steam ahead from there. But, you know, Janai Broome just dropped 31 points yesterday in their win against Georgia. This is one of their last true road games on the schedule. And I think Kentucky has the opportunity, as I tighten my sombrero a little bit here, to pull the upset on Saturday. That game's on ABC, by the way, nationally televised, so you can see Janai Broome and the national championship favorites. And finally, tasty top 3, number 3, Alabama again, going down to Rocky Top to face Tennessee. You know I'm high on Tennessee after last week, and this is really just the tasty top 3 is a place for me to just show and educate you as the aliens to watch Alabama. They are talented. They are fun to watch. Mark Sears is one of the best point guards in the country, dropped 30 points yesterday, and they're going to a Tennessee team with Zakai Ziegler, who is maybe the best defensive point guard in the country. Watch him against Mark Sears. That is an NBA-type matchup battle on Saturday. So that's your tasty top 3, and that is how you make some tacos this week.
If you're not making tacos, I don't love you no more.
Super Dave face. That dancing cartoon Super Dave face is amazing. By the way, your Tasty Top 3 was the SEC conference schedule. How about that? All SEC teams made it, but they're the best conference in America. So
they might break the record, DA, of the most tournament nominations we get on Selection Sunday. And just a programming note on my end as well. Selection Sunday, the day after, folks, is the full 1 year anniversary of Watch DA Live. So we are planning a lot of stuff. I know I'm excited. I know DA's excited. Get ready for that St. Paddy's Day weekend. Be here or be square.
That's right. We've got a lot of action coming up here to celebrate the 1 year anniversary of Watch DA Live. If you've been with us since the beginning, we've now done a full year of this on Sunday nights. Let's wrap things up as we always do with your Little Mo laugh of the day. Good reminder to keep smiling, everybody, because good days are here and good days are always here with Little Mo. And this is very cool. From spring training, you had a loser of a fantasy football bet. Okay, fantasy football. Now, the loser happened to be Chris Bassett, okay, Major League Baseball pitcher. And he went 4-10 this year in the team's fantasy football league. So Bassett, by losing as the worst record of their fantasy league, had to serve as the Blue Jays ball boy. As you can see, the jersey itself says 4-10 on the back with his last name Bassett. So how about this? And it just so happened this was also on his birthday. The 36th birthday of Chris Bassett happened to also be Punishment Day. How good is that? So that's a great way to see somebody have to pay the penance for a bad fantasy football league year. The record stitched to the back of their jersey, and they got to play ball boy. There you go. Professional pitcher has been on the mound for how many years in baseball, is forced to be the ball boy at spring training. Gotta love it. Good old-fashioned fantasy football punishment. That, my friends, is worth a Little Mo laugh of the day. All right, that's going to do it for us tonight here on the show. Thanks, everybody, for the late-night version, if you will, of Watch DA Live. Thanks to Mraz for joining us here for Canadian Bacon. That was awesome. As always, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, tell your family, watch us, subscribe to the channel. These guys do good stuff. It's fun. It's positive. It's a great place to congregate. And the Watch DA Aliens are a wonderful family to be part of. So come one, come all. Make sure you pass this along to your friends and tell them subscribe to the channel and watch on Sunday nights. They got cool stuff to give away, like Herb Brooks bobblehead. How great is it? The Bobblehead Hall of Fame loves us so much they wanted to give away stuff to you guys because they love this show. So cool. We got such great support, such great momentum over this year, and it just continues to build and swell, and I love it. It means the world to me that we have such great sponsors and supporters and listeners and viewers that love to do what we love to do as well on Sunday nights, which is come together, smile, have a good time, share some laughs, have some inside jokes, and talk some sports. So that'll do it for us tonight here on the show. I am off tomorrow on Sirius XM. We moved President's Day into tomorrow, I think. So I'm back on Tuesday, okay? Me and Babs are back on Tuesday, so I will see you then. Thanks to Mraz. Thanks to the Marquette Marvel, Aiden Hatton, our executive producer. And thanks to you guys, the Watch DA Aliens. Love you very much. We will see you next Sunday night on Watch DA Live and Tuesday morning on Sirius XM. Be good. Be good to one another. The mothership disconnects.